Yo, what's up? Hey everybody, how's it going? Am I live? Why is the light such crap in my room? Anyway, I've got some under cabinet lighting that I purchased that I need to install and actually do stuff. So hi, I'm CK. I just performed at Knobcon in the big room with a bunch of other super talented people. And I've done a couple of videos showing what my rack was going to be like for the performance, what modulation sources I was using. And so now that I'm post-performance, I wanted to walk through kind of what I liked, didn't like, what I hated, what I used, what I didn't use in my actual performance. I thought I'd just do it as a live stream. After the live stream, this will be live on my YouTube, and you guys can access it at any point after that. Also, I'd be remiss if I did not mention that if you go to cksample.com/modules, you can join the modules Discord, where there is a room for every module that someone asks a room for until I run out of room space, and then I delete empty rooms. But anyway, it's like Mod Wiggler except without a bunch of haters. It's polite conversation. So sorry. So other thing to note, if you go to transductionsignal.com/merch, you can get Tip Top Buchla black panels for sale. That please buy them. I wanted them for myself. I have them for myself. I have plenty of extras, and I'd like to make my money back. And thanks to Gur at Tip Top for hooking me up and allowing me to do this. Also, Transduction Signal Collective had a new album released called Collections 1 on Friday. Grab it on all the major platforms. Stream it. Go to our Bandcamp, transductionsignal.com, transductionsignal.bandcamp.com, and check it out. Okay, that's all the promo stuff I'm going to go through. Now let's get to the meat of the matter. And I'm just using my MacBook camera instead of a real camera. You hear that? Steve Jobs ghost? I called your camera a non-real camera. Just because I'm being lazy and using my laptop to do it. I just wanted to do this live and show you guys what I'm doing. So if anybody shows up in chat, ask away questions. I will respond. I can see the chat. But I myself, I'm just going to start going through things. So first off, Knobcon was a blast. For all of you that didn't go, you should go next year. Had a great time. I'm going to pull my case out from its travel bag. So multiple people asked me at Knobcon, but my case is the Amalgamod 12U case. It's ordered from Australia from a gentleman named Ian. Ian's very nice and helpful. Hi Ian, hope you watch this. Amalgamod case. The 12U fits within carry-on sizes. It was a breeze to take through security and to travel with. And I thought it would only fit sideways and down like this in the luggage, but like facing you. But it turns out it turns long ways. So who knew? It actually fits as a nicely, and there were no complaints, and it was no issue going through security. Although I do have TSA pre-check, so that may be part of the reason I had no problems with security. So anyway, this is the travel bag. It goes around the case, and like I said, I have not opened this up since I packed it up to leave Monday morning from the hotel room at Knobcon. By the way, I hate the Schaumburg hotel that we stayed in. It has lots of issues. It's not renovated. It's not nice. And although the venue part of it was okay, I would appreciate it if they'd actually, have people working the bar and stuff on a regular schedule, or, clean the rooms, or maybe have a functioning shower, or maybe have temperature control that you could actually adjust in the room. Anyway, so let me pull this out. All right, it's not that heavy. I don't know why I'm grunting. So let's put it down here. Here's my case, closed. See it smiling? It's gonna vomit a bunch of cables right now. Oh. Here it is again. Here's the two travel lights. Go with it. I'm not gonna plug all this in right now. I'm not even plugging this in. I'm just going to talk through what worked and what didn't and kind of show you guys as I go. So here's all the connective tissue that I was using to connect from my this is connective tissue that I used to connect from my modular to my Zone 96 DJ mixer. I think using the DJ mixer for my set worked really well, actually. I think the ways it did not work well solely have to do with me being a noob at using a DJ mixer and, you know, doing a big live performance like that. I did order and got I ordered this before I left, and I got it when I returned, a new 333 from Prep Tools. I had it upside down. 333 from Prep Tools. Notice I blinged it out with color matched banana nuts because I'm a banana nut case, and I put banana nuts on all my things. But for the Prep Tools one, I color code it to their color scheme. I already have one of these in the case. This is the second one. These act as kind of they're the only they're the only buffered multiple that, in my opinion, is worth it. Anybody who tells you, oh, you need mults. No, you don't. They're stackable cables. There's very few signals that really need to be buffered to be pure. And the ones that do, you don't want just a buffered multiple. You want something like this that's actually a mixer buffered multiple plus high audio quality with gain staging. So you have a -6 dB switch that you turn on to this to kind of like route stuff out of the URAC and into something like a DJ mixer. So anyway, a second one of these to handle my send and returns, which I was just running at regular non-Euro levels because I was sending from the mixer into the rack and into my Magneto and Starlab, and then back out into directly into the mixer without really amping it back up. So it was a lower level audio thing in the first place. So first thing I discovered, speaking of a Starlab and Magneto, is even though I love playing with both of them when I'm live, online and streaming, when I'm in a live venue in a room that has its own reverb, the Starlab is pointless. So that's the first thing I would note is, and the one thing I found myself doing very quickly in my set was turning down the Starlab, not really using that much. It's a lot of HP, it sounds really good, but it's coming out of the case, and I'm going to put something else in it here, other functionality. I don't even need more effects. I think I have the Z5000 in here, and that can be my effects for the most part. Let's talk about other things. I walked through what all the case was before in a previous, let me try to get this where I'm not moving it all the time. In a previous set, actually let me put it back over here. Let's do this until I talk about something specific. Sorry if this is nauseating for everybody. We're doing it live. So I've already talked about this run through in a previous video. Check out that video. If I'm not too lazy, I'll link to it here. I probably am too lazy though, just facts. So I'm not going to talk through everything. I'm going to talk about what I did not end up using that I thought I was going to use, or things that I used that I didn't like. So things that I didn't really use that much, besides the Starlab, which I turned down. DivKids Oct. I love DivKids Oct. It's a great little LFO, and I use it a lot when I'm just noodling around and practicing. But I find in a performative context, I rarely live patch it the way I think I'm going to ahead of time, and I thought I was going to live patch it ahead of time. I think if I had had it already patched and had a performative goal in mind with it, it would have been a very valuable tool to use in the set. But as is, it's coming out of the case because I don't need it. I have other LFOs and other modulation. Other things that were really good in the case, I do have both of the Tip Top Buchla modules that were released earlier with the black panels from transductionsignal.com/merch. Please buy them. But they're right here. The dual oscillator model 258T and the quad function generator 281T. I actually had patched both voices, and the second voice was just a rhythmic drum pattern that I was going to be triggering some, and I never did. It was like a bass line, just a bum, 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 and very bass lines for different things. And for some reason, I just totally forgot in the performance to turn that on. So given that I have two voices in the Piston Honda MK3, I have two voices in this complex oscillator that is the Brinzo, and I have a really good flexible set of small voices in the Lorelei and Evo filter up here from Expert Sleepers. I don't really need two more oscillators, I'm finding. So I'm thinking probably, even though it sounds really good, the 258T probably needs to come out of the performance case, just because I'm not using it to its fullest and it's a lot of space for what it is. It sounds great. It also is a little bit finicky to tune, not in the sense of it actually tracks really well, but it's just it's a Buchla. It's a little bit finicky. The quad function generator I really love, actually. It's a nicely spaced module. Like, if somebody had recommended me getting this instead of maths when I first started as a Eurorack person, I would be much less frustrated with life. I hate maths. I'd never enjoyed maths. I've never been able to find maths to be so useful as everybody wants, because, like, what I'm doing, I'm trying to do performative music. I'm trying to create music. I'm not trying to create science experiments to see if I can, use as few modules as possible to do stuff. That's not me. That's not the way I operate. And so something like this that has a lot of the functionality of maths built into it in a broader, more performable platform is really nice. I may keep this in the rack. I'm undecided right now. It is still very big, and I do enjoy, and a lot of people who are going to be like, you can't hate maths, are going to scoff when they realize that I actually like this, but I like Frap Tools Filistri. I mean, its UX is better for me. UX means user experience for those of you who don't have computer backgrounds like me and work in computer software, but its usability is higher for me than maths. I like it better. I don't think I fully use it to its capability, but the parts I use work really well. And it's smaller than the quad function generator, although it is only 2 functions instead of 4. Now, having said all that, at Knobcon, I saw a couple of interesting things that might replace the quad function generator if I pull it out. One of them was from Rides in the Storm. Rides in the Storm is a German module manufacturer. It has a 4-channel ADSR called the Quad Envelope Generator, the QEG, I think is what it's called. He didn't have any for sale there. He just had the one in his travel case that he was demoing. But it's 4 ADSR envelope generators with a manual loop button you can trigger, a fire button just to fire it if you want to fire it once, which made for each of the 4 channels, which made it very performative, and multiple gates and triggers out for each thing. Really interesting module. I really wanted to buy one. He didn't have one. I'm looking online for one. No one has one. Ugh. Disappointment. The other module is the Inertia from, what's his name? What's his company's name? I just got an email. Where'd my phone go? Oh, here we go. I just signed up for his email list, so, but I just got an email from New Systems Instruments. So check out nsinstruments.com, and the Inertia, as I said, is a maths killer in my opinion. It was a cool little oscillator, filter, function generator. Like, it could do all those things, but again, its design seemed to make more sense to me, and it was really cool. Like, I had fun playing with that module as well. So those are 2 modules that I'm thinking about maybe going here. As for the voice, as for the oscillator, I don't know yet. I have other oscillators. I may actually, with the freed up room from Star Lab and this, actually put Deckard's voice back in this kit, because Deckard's voice is a full, complete voice in and of itself with a lot of functionality, and it sounds like amazing, and I love it. So so that may very well come back in here. And truth be told, although I love both of these tip-top Buchla modules, and I think they're inexpensive options that people that are getting into modulars should check out, and they have beautiful Buchla sounds in a Eurorack format, which is amazing because I will never buy a Buchla. I'm never going to do another modular format. That'd just be silly for me. Anyway, even though all those things, I really bought these not to be a main tool that I use all the time, but really something for one of my overflow cases, because I thought it would be, cool to actually have I have two black tip-top Manus cases, and I want to make one of them a fully black Buchla system in and of itself. Like, I want to be a Buchla purist, but with black panels and in Eurorack format. That's my plan. Because I'm ridiculous. Anyway, the other thing, I actually used this quite a bit in the set, but it felt gimmicky and I didn't really love it, was the wave ring and the wave front 4 HP module. I was using it to modulate the wave shaping of the Piston Honda MK3, and it worked well, but I didn't feel like I had real control. It felt very erratic, and it didn't feel like it snapped back to where it goes. Where it should have gone. And honestly, I missed, I usually do that before this switch. I would do that with this bad boy right here, the Doepfer 3D joystick, which is amazingly fun. And it has a little trigger, pew pew, where you can shoot a gate to ping a filter, which is amazing. So, and a lot more outs, and I understand what everything's doing, whereas with the wave ring, I haven't learned it well enough yet to really understand what I was doing. It was fun to do this while I was performing and manipulate my sound, but at the same time, I think I overplanned my set, and I had too much going on, and it probably would have been better if I had kept it a little bit more simple. And so I think the wave ring, fun experiment. I don't know if I'm going to sell it. I think I'll keep on exploring and playing with it, but I don't think I'm going to have it in my let's take it for a performance, unless I figure out a future use case for it that really fits and makes sense. Okay, so the other thing, and this came out of a conversation with my friend Dissonant, is I think I'm going to move. I'm not taking it out of the case by any means, because it's my favorite filter. Actually, it's one of my two favorite filters, the 100 Grit. And my other favorite filter is the Three Sisters. And I had for this set the Brinzo paired with the 100 Grit, which is where I was getting the stabby synth sounds. For any of you that were at Knobcon, or if you've seen some of the clips online, that's how I was making that sound. But I think the 100 Grit, Dissonant's right, it plays so well with the Piston Honda MK3. I really need to put it back up there with its friend and use some other filtering option, if I use a filter at all with the Brinzo. The Brinzo, because of its wave shaping functionality, it can often work pretty filterless, I find. Sometimes I don't patch it with a filter. So I'll probably move that around. I'll probably actually put Three Sisters down with the Brinzo, because the different ends of the Three Sisters with the different outs from the Brinzo would be interesting as well, in the same way that it was interesting for the Piston Honda to be paired with it. Now, I want to take a pause to mention another synth manufacturer that I saw at Knobcon that I've not been familiar with before, but it's Cetonics Synth. And here's their modular menu. But if you go to their site, it is, where is it? Cetonicsynth.com. I'll put all these links in the description of this after I finish streaming. But it's Setonix synth.com. They have a filter called the Macropod variable bandwidth filter, bandwidth VCF, which reminded me a lot of the Three Sisters, but was different enough where I really want one. And it's not that, it's only $175. They didn't have any in stock. Actually, they had one that they sold to Dissonant. I'm so happy for my friend. Anyway, you can buy it for cheaper in a build-it-yourself module format. So if you're handy dandy, go on their website and order the kit and make it yourself. I am not handy dandy, although I am dandy. But anyway, but the Macropod variable bandwidth VCF. I found one on Reverb right now that I'm about to buy. So if you see that same one after me saying that, please don't buy it, because I think it's pretty amazing. So to describe it quickly, it's like the Three Sisters, but instead of being high, low, and center in the outs with a mix out, it has a notch out, which is crazy. It has two different band pass filters out, a high pass out, and then a mix out, and then a distorted mix out. And it sounds so good. It's really a cool filter. Like, I think it's a very unique filter that I haven't seen in a while. So I'm getting one of those. That's just a duh. I need to sell some stuff though too, because I have way too many overflow modules in my overflow case right now. So anyway, and they also have these vented. If you're one of these people that uses blanks in your system and your system gets hot, then they had these vented blank panels, which were pretty cool, that, you know, will let cat hair into them, into your modular. Anyway, also there were two other really cool filters while I'm on filters, even though it's not about my case breakdown and what worked and what didn't. But Weston Precision Audio has this new module that isn't pictured down here, but it's right here, which is the SF1 dual stereo filter. And it's two VCFs with 9 times response types, linkable CV, frequency controls, and built-in crossfader panner. Really cool dual filter module, 18 HP, I believe. So smaller than what's that IntelliGel one that I used to have? That's really good too. But anyway, smaller than that, and with a really cool switch too. Like the switch that he sourced for that module is like a little slider switch, and it's smooth, and it's a switchless switch, so it doesn't do any clicking or anything. So you can quickly transform between the different available wave shape out options, and there's a couple of multiple ones for each filter. So it was a really cool flexible filter. I really want it, but at the same time, I'm not sure where I'm going to put it and what I'm going to trade out to make room for it. And I'm hoping that my friend Autograph, who was at Knobcon and who was looking at it, actually buys one and tells me all about it before I decide whether I'm going to move forward or not with that one. And then finally, there was another tube. Oh, do I have the document about who he is? I don't think I have it on me right now in my pile of stuff that's on the floor that I haven't unpacked. There's one other filter that was really cool that's in production right now, that was from a guy in Portland, Oregon with long hair, and his company's name is, I'm going blank, but they have these gray paneled, it's like a blue gray panel filter, but it's a tube filter, and it was really cool and had like such a good sound. And it had a switch you could switch to open up or close the filter on how tight it was, and switching that. My comment to him was like, is this CVable? And it wasn't, unfortunately, but if you could CV that switch, you could do a rhythmic sound of that tube kind of switching from the two things. It sounded so good. It was just really rich sounding. Once I find the actual name of the company, I'll put it in the comments to this video too later on. So besides that, the rest of the setup worked pretty well. I didn't use the zero scope at all, so I don't know why I have it in here, so I would probably take it out. I feel like I had too many envelope options because I was trying to force using the quad function generator, and I really could have done everything with just the Moleco quad envelope. But the one thing I don't like about the quad envelope is you gotta remember which channel is which, because it's the same interface for all 4 envelopes that you're creating, and that's where something like the what's it called again, Rides in the Storm QEG that I was talking about, or the quad function generator actually works better. Like perhaps I should have just used the quad function generator instead of the Moleco quad envelope. But both of them seemed a little busy that I had them both. Even though I had this one only working with this one voice, and this one working with 2 other voices. And the first voice I was just using natural gate and not using an envelope in. I was just manually manipulating everything because I like to manually drive my rig a lot. Maestro worked really well. I had a little piece of tape that I put here that I'm going to pull off right now. It said 332244 to tell me that the first 2 buttons were for the third voice, the middle 2 buttons were for the second voice, and the last 2 buttons were for the fourth voice. That was just because I was stupid when I was setting it up, and I started with the third voice instead of the second one. So that's why that order. I was too lazy to, redo the patterns that I had created. But I don't need that anymore, so I ripped it off just now. One other thing that ended up being interesting in a live scenario is one of the things that I did, and I described it in the previous video, is I have my full end of chain from the zone going out. The zone has a master send and return loop that you can send the whole mix out at the very end to be processed. And through that master mix out, I had it going through the Mesor compressor to kind of glue everything together, and then into the overseer so I could do a high pass to band pass, crossfade, DJ style across the entire mix, and then also into my 4MS wave recorder, which I use just to record the whole set too. Now, in my studio, that sounds amazing and works great. At the venue where I was going from the zone mixer into another board where my volume was not as high because he had the volume up at the board, so I just had the mixer set at 2, the non-Eurorack audio rate coming out of that loop and going into the Mesor was not high enough as it is in my home studio to actually trigger the compressor. It wasn't getting triggered the way it should have been in terms of the kick and everything else. So it didn't quite do its magic the way it does in my home studio because of that audio difference. And it's something where if I had had this bad boy, a whole extra set of 333 buffered mixed awesomeness, I could have had that loop going. And if I'd known, could have had that loop going in and out to do that. But then the question becomes really, do I really need that compressor in all of this, especially playing a live venue where you got to deal with room noise? It sounds the way it sounds. It's not a finalized mix, and I'm probably going to finalize mix everything in my computer in Ableton eventually. So do I need that compressor? I don't think so. So even though the Mesor is a great little end-of-chain compressor, I don't know if it's really needed. That became something where I was like, oh, maybe not that. Other things to note, I prepared way too much for the set. I had too many sequences going on in the packs. I got confused a couple of times. There's only one, I think, maybe 2. There's 2. There's 2 really noticeable mistakes in my set, and I think I think I think I covered for them okay by repeating them. Like one of the mistakes I just repeated twice, and then everybody thought it was part of the song. It was great. And the other one, actually, at one point, I got confused between transitioning between sequences, fading between, crossfading on the mixer and crossfading on the Morphader on my actual setup. And when I did that, I actually accidentally dropped everything except for the kick, and it was just all of a sudden just the kick going, and I sat there for a minute. I went like, whatever. The audience was awesome though. Everybody cheered. I got it back up on its rails quickly thereafter, and it was good. But because I had over created in terms of creating too many prepped sequences ahead of time, I had one really good build up and build down set of sequences at the beginning that was kind of my only true song, I'd say, set of across the 4 voices where I'd really planned it out decently. But I rushed through that because I knew there were all these other sequences, and when I got to those other sequences, I also rushed through them a bit and didn't know them as well as I should have. I think after I saw Travarsi, my good friend, and Alex forever known as T plus A from now on. That's their new stage name together, T plus A. Their performance was great, and they had a few flubs too, and corrected for them like pros because they are. But it was kind of funny to watch the way Travarsi quickly would program stuff in the vector, and how you could quickly. I should have done something more like that. I should have had some stuff prepped that was very structured, and then I should have moved over to, while something else was being built up a little bit, program something live and switch over. Now, Travarsi's amazing at that. She's really skilled at quickly doing that. When she came over here and hung out with me in my studio and we patched together, I was amazed at how quickly she was like, oh no, I don't need a clock, I'll just beat match you. And then like, she was actually reaching across and patching some cables in my thing and changing some things live, and just knew what she was doing at a level that I think is, just comes from her years of experience, especially and showed me how to use my DJ mixer, which I learned some of for the set, but didn't really know it fully. In any case, she's amazing, but I know I can do some level of that. Not at her level yet, but eventually. And it would have been fun and better paced, and probably would have sounded better overall the whole time if I had just had an area for me to play in versus for me to be planned in, if that makes sense. Too many planned parts made it too rigid for me. And also, like, there's a little bit of oddness with switching between everything using the Hapax, even though the Hapax has a cool interface for doing that. I'm really thinking I'm going to maybe move away from it and back to my vector. Especially 512 has a new LFO coming out to work with the vector that Jim was showing off at the show. And it's a four channel LFO with 2 screens that actually shows you what whatever the LFO is doing, and lots of capabilities. And it can connect on the back end to the vector and be controlled from there, and have some interconnectivity. So I think one big skiff with the vector expander, and that LFO together would be an amazing way to do a live set too. So I think I'm going to switch back out to the vector. The other thing is that I'd say about my set, I think I was because I had created all those patterns for everything, I had probably about 8 different patterns for drums that I had programmed, and I had the ability to mute and unmute different channels on the Queen of Pinnacles, which is the only drum I had going on there. But I didn't vary that as much as I should have in the live set. I kind of got, because there was so much going on, the excitement, because I was rushing through all those sequences, I didn't take the time to really build up and build down the way I had planned out initially doing so. And I think if I tried to do it more purely in the Hapax versus using the mutes on the Queen of Pinnacles, I would have actually known what I was doing at a given time. But sometimes I lost track of, wait, what is this switch going to turn on? Like what beat have I programmed for this clap right now? I thought I remembered, but every once in a while when I flipped it on, it wasn't what I was expecting. So I think in the future I wouldn't rely on the mutes in the Queen of Pinnacles. If I was still using the Queen of Pinnacles, I would actually use either the mutes in the Hapax, where I can actually see the pattern as I'm doing it, reprogram the patterns live, switch between 2 different. One of the cool things about the Hapax is you can switch back and forth between with the mute function, you can mute what you're currently playing, then write a new sequence over it in mute mode, and then you can toggle back and forth between those 2 sequences in a single drum lane. So that's cool. But I could also do that in the vector. So we'll see what I end up doing. But the Hapax was fun. It's definitely a cool box. But also just traveling with all this stuff. Actually, the setup wasn't that bad. The big mixer carrying it through the airport. I have this big Pelican case that I shoved everything in. And it has multiple stickers of, if I can turn it. It's actually rugged, really good, really good case for carrying a a huge DJ mixer and a Hupax and a bunch of cables and odds and ends, and it was easy enough to break down and set up. But I'm kind of thinking, if I get rid of the huge Buchla section here, move that out into another case, and if I get rid of the Star Lab, and if I maybe trim down the Mesor and all of these changes that I've mentioned in this video would start to add up, and I'd actually be able to put the vector back in here. And if I put the vector back in here, then I don't need the VAX, and this becomes a very self-contained Eurorack based performance powerhouse. So why not do that? That'd be easier to carry. I'd still use the zone mixer. Oh, well, I could, if I wanted to not do the zone mixer, I could, take this little bad boy here, the Cosmix from Cosmotronic, because it's a good 6-channel with one effects and return thing mixer too. I could use that. I don't know, maybe. And or I could, break down and actually get the performance mixer from WMD, since they're about to no longer exist. And I've never had one. I used to have the Bafaco Hex Mix and Hex Expander, which were great, but that's huge amount of rack space, and I wasn't really doing all the malts out. But I say all that, I'm pretty sure I'm going to stick with the Zone, and here's why. The Zone has a built-in audio interface, and all I have to do is plug one USB cable from this MacBook that I'm currently talking to you on, and plug that into the back of the Zone mixer, and launch Ableton, and arm all the tracks for each of the channels coming out of that, and hit record before I start playing, and I have a full multi-tracked mix out, send out, raw stems out copy of my performance, and that's exactly what I did at Knobcon. So the benefits of that are pretty awesome, because that means I can have, sorry, my parrot's going nuts because he hears me talking. I have a pet parrot. Anyway, he's a Eclectus. There's a video about him. It's disgusting. Further back in my YouTube. I won't link to that because you don't need to see it. Anyway, so it's disgusting because it's about him masturbating, and the BBC paid me $50 for it to be included in a documentary. He's squawking now because he doesn't like me talking about it. But there you have the story. Anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about something before the bird interrupted my life like he always does. I was talking about, the Zone Mixer and recording multi-tracked on Ableton Live. Like, I have a full, my set was not perfect, but the audience was good, and it sounded good in the room, and people were moving and dancing, so it was a good set. That's all that matters for a good set. Like, you'll screw up in sets, it's okay. But I have all the stems, and there's parts of really good sounding stuff in all of that, even though I rushed it and everything. And I could now take those stems and I could make a whole album out of that set, or I could just take the mix down and master it and stream it on Blast Radio, which is what I'm going to do later on this week, so stay tuned. God, this lighting makes me look crazy. Or wait, maybe I'm just look crazy anyway. So anyway, that's the benefits of the Zone Mixer. I've thought about getting the little Teenage Engineering Too Small for My Big Hands mixer to serve as that same audio interface functionality on the go. I could do that. I could go really, everything in the rack and not be performative in my mixing as much. No, I'm not going to do that. Things to think about. Anyway, so all in all, I was very pleased with the show, and I had fun, and Knobcon was amazing, and I'm going to wrap this live stream because my bird is going insane, and it's driving me nuts. But I'm probably going to overhaul my rack again. Once I land on something useful, I'll post it on Modular Grid to share with you all about what I'm doing now. Oh, one other thought. I may take the Queen of Pentacles out because I think it has too many drum parts. I noticed I relied too heavily on I had this one pattern of hi-hats and variability that I liked, but I used it too much. Now listening back to it, I'm like, it's too much, you know. But, you know, I have some of these interesting drum modules, like the Elephant from Pittsburgh Modular, that I may stick back in. The Unicorn Boom, where's my Unicorn? Oh, it's right here. The Unicorn Boom is still my favorite kick drum, honestly. You're not supposed to do this to a unicorn's bum. Anyway, and I think I may, even though it's 22 HP, I could put it back in the case. I'm thinking I don't need as many distinct drum voices. I just need to be more patient and varied with the way I shape those voices and what they're doing. So I could do that. Take out the Queen of Pentacles, move the Overseer to be end of a small chain of drums to control their sounds and everything, and like the Queen of Pentacles with its filter. I could do that, or this bad boy, TR-8S. I could do that for all my drums. It's really a good thing. And I could actually trigger one drum voice using the trigger out from this into the case, so I could keep the Unicorn Boom. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll see. What does the future hold? Tune in for the next episode of CK Talks About Stuff while he swirls around his camera and makes you nauseous. It's going to be amazing. Thank you for tuning in, my friends. And if any of you would like a CK Samples Face t-shirt, please let me know what size you would like it in, and I will order some. Thank you. Later. I think I'm going to do a series of videos on YouTube about performing in Eurorack, because I think people too often talk about how they use their modules, but they don't talk about performing. And I think that's what I really focus on, is performing stuff and making transitions. And so would a video like that interest you? Tell me in the comments. Like and subscribe and all the other stuff you're supposed to tell people to get followers. I don't really care if I get followers or not. I'm self-obsessed and like talking to my reflection in this camera. All right, bye everybody. Have a great day.